The advanced search feature in Maximizer can be used in the address book window or in opportunities, customer service, or campaigns. We're going to perform an advanced search in Maximizer in the address book window today just to show you how powerful and easy this is to do. Before setting up the advanced search, we go over to Preferences and just make sure that we have a check mark right here next to this section that says Allow multi-selection in advanced search. That allows us to have more than one criterion for the search that we'll be performing. Today, let's do an advanced search in the address book window for all entries located in Toronto that have employees and are engaged in wholesaling. We begin by clicking on Search, Advanced Search. We then click on Add to identify what we want to search against. For example, we'll expand basic fields and we'll make a selection of city. Then under our user-defined fields, we want to find number of employees and we want to find industry. The easiest way to do this is just to type at least part of the field name here and allow Maximizer to search and find it for us. And then the final one, of course, was industry. Click Search, Maximizer finds it, and I select it. You'll notice that each time I made a check mark here, Maximizer remembered what I had done over here. Once I click OK, Maximizer is going to bring back each one of these criteria one at a time and expect me to put in a starting value. For city, I'm going to put in Toronto. When I type in the name and then click Add, as soon as it shows up here, I click OK. Then for number of employees, I think what I'll do is just put in a range 1 to 100 and click Add. If I wanted to, I could be specific and I could say give me only companies with say 25 employees. I'll click OK and I'll pick wholesaler just as a beginning point. And now Maximizer recognizes that I have asked for all entries that are in Toronto that have employees and are engaged in wholesaling. I'm identifying down here companies, individuals, and contacts. I'm going to take these two out and tell Maximizer I'm only interested in companies, but I wanted to search all entries in the database that are companies that meet these criteria. And I've indicated here that the search has to match all of these criteria, not just one or more. I've also asked Maximizer to replace the list out here with the results of this search that we're about to perform. Let me show one other thing to you before we go ahead. You'll notice that if I want to, when I'm highlighting Toronto, I could click Change, which would take me back to the dialog box where I identified Toronto as the city to start with. I could put in some other value. Similarly, for either of these others, I could do the same thing. I could click Remove if I want, which would take this parameter out of the search. I could also click this as Not Equal, in which case I would be asking Maximizer to bring me back everybody in the database who is not in Toronto but has a range of employees from 1 to 100 and is involved in wholesaling. I'll move that back to equal and I'll go ahead and ask Maximizer to perform the search. If the search results are what we expect, given our knowledge of our database, then we have a high level of confidence in the validity of the search. We are then also confident that if we add more entries to our database, the search will pick out those new entries that meet the criteria of this search and present them to us as well as the ones we've already found. This is why we call this kind of an advanced search a dynamic search. It is capable of adjusting when entries are added to or removed from the database. Now remember, sometimes, I'm going to pull back to advanced search and bring up the last search because I want to do something more with this. But I want you to remember that if the search results are not what you expected, you need to go back and re-examine how you set up the search. Maximizer is always right. You and I, not so much. Now what I'd like to do is make this one of my permanent searches that I will be using frequently. So I come down here and click on Catalog, and then I click on Add, and I give this search a name. I'm going to put a couple of asterisks here to bring it to the top of my list, and I'll say City plus Employees plus Industry. Now you could argue that what I should be saying is Toronto plus employees plus wholesaling, but I'm now going to also put a check mark right here that says prompt for values when the search is retrieved. And what I have done is I have generalized this search, and I'll prove that to you in just a moment. I'll give full access to this to the public so anybody else in the office can use it and work with it. I'm also going to select my public address book view as the column setup I want to use. I'll click OK. And now Maximizer registers this search in the search catalog. This is now a saved search. And I can do one more totally cool thing. I can click on Add to the Icon bar. I can select an icon and click Save, and Maximizer now puts that up here in my Quick Access icon bar, and I'm going to show you why. So I'll click out of here and click out of here to begin with, and I'm going to tell Maximizer to undo this search so that I can prove what this quick search is going to do for us. Now I'm going to click on Quick Access and select the search we just cataloged. Maximizer brings it back and says, would you like to keep the same parameters or would you like to change them? Well, instead of wholesaler only, let's also add retail sales. When we do that, we have to remember to change this from must match all to match one or more, and then we go ahead and click search. Instead of just the 5 companies we had originally, I now have a 6th company here as well that is in retail sales right there. With the release of CRM 2017, we had the introduction of a new user-defined field called duration, and we can do some interesting searches against that particular type of field. For example, let us suppose that we have defined a user-defined field, a duration field, and called it age, and tagged it to a client's birth date so that we can tell how old that particular client is. We can go to Search, Advanced Search, and pull up that particular user-defined field and start to do some interesting things with it. Right here we have 3 choices. Return everything that equals a particular age, or is between 2 sets of ages, or will be a certain age. For example, in financial services, we might be interested in a client who will be turning 65 today or in the next 60 days, and we can check that rolling date range, or we can actually specify a specific date range. We may also be interested in having all the clients in our database who are already 65, or we may want to have clients who are between 65 and let's say 72, for example. Or if you're in automobile sales, you might be more interested in looking at clients who are between the ages of 25 and 35, and so on and so forth. Well, you know, Maximizer is famous for the ability to search for nearly anything in the database. And as you can see, Advanced Search is a very powerful tool that responds to your need to find information quickly and easily. Bye for now.